Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of Jay's PC Impossible. If you haven't already noticed, there's a test bench. Man, I can't speak right now. Sorry, it's about 6:50, 7 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, there's a test bench sitting in front of there. Don't mind all the fans. This is my first test bench. I decided to do a custom test bench since I don't currently own a normal test bench like everyone else. Not that normal isn't overrated, or maybe it is overrated. I don't know. Anyway, yes, test bench. The case used, because it used to be a normal case. It used to be a mini ITX tower, or case, because it really isn't a tower. It's squared shape. I don't know which one, and if any of you know which one, please let me know. Just a brief description of what the case used to look like. It's squared shape. It has an exhaust port in the back. It takes a fan at the top, and it has a top shroud, plastic shroud that goes on it, a front intake fan, and it has a plastic shroud that goes over that. Two transparent windows on either side, or one transparent window on either side. Both windows are like a bluish color, and the top and front portion of the case actually pivots forward about 45 degrees to give you room in the top. So if you know that case via the description that I just gave you, please let me know. I've been curious as to which case that is. I bought this one used, and my girlfriend used it for her AutoCAD classes and working with SolidWorks and things like that, and she doesn't need it anymore. I built the case originally for her, so I just decided to turn it into a test bench. So yeah, if you can give me some news on which case that is, greatly appreciated. As for the test bench itself now, it's running on an ASRock FM2 Plus motherboard. The processor itself is a AMD Athlon 750K. That's the quad-core Athlon processor. 4.7 gigahertz, or I'm sorry, 3.7 gigahertz, 4.0 boost. Running 16 gigs of HyperX memory, 1866 megahertz. And that card that's on there is actually the card that I did an unboxing for just about a day ago, if I'm not mistaken. That is the Sapphire Nittro R7 360. Now, to give you guys a closer look of how the system looks like on the inside, I'll give you a little look in there. It's very compact. That's actually a Fantex CPU cooler that's in there. It works quite well, but I mean, let's face it, it's AMD. They're known for running extremely hot and still maintaining, well, some pretty good performance even at high temperatures. This card that you actually see out in front of it is the card that my girlfriend used to use in her previous build, in that CAD computer. And well, it's a fairly old card. It's GTX 560 Ti, and it's starting to show some thermal issues. It still runs pretty well. It functions very well, but it's having a little thermal issues where it just spike up into temperatures that aren't usually shown through this card. So I might do a video on probably doing some thermal pasting, new thermal pasting, and possibly resurfacing the actual contact, the heat plate that make contact with the CPU, just to see if it'll remedy the situation. But hopefully we can get that through. But for now, let's just maintain our focus on the Sapphire Nittro that you see there, and see what kind of performance it actually puts out. Now, for starters, I'm gonna have to ask you to forgive me. I just recently finished building this thing about maybe an hour ago, and the only program I have installed is Valley Benchmark. I do plan on installing more programs to it, so if you would like to see a separate video with gameplay, please leave comments down below, or just hit the like button. Either or will make me do it, although I want to do it, so I guess it's a win-win. But yes, I do plan on putting more programs in there, but for now, I will be running Valley Benchmark, and I might do some overclocking, to tell you the truth. Now, the stock clock on this bad boy, because it is bad boy, let's face it, is 1060 megahertz, if I'm not mistaken. I can actually tell you right now because I do have MSI Afterburner turned on, and yes, it is 1060. Turn the camera over here. There you go. It is 1060. I don't know if you can see this. Hopefully you can. The camera wasn't behaving correctly earlier, but that does say 1060. I have no idea why it's blaring out like that so much, but that does say 1060 there in the bottom one, or the next one down does say 1500 megahertz for the memory clock. The GPU itself seems to have that setting where anything below a certain temperature, I'm going to guess it's like 60 degrees Celsius, the fan itself quite literally turns off. It says it's running at 20%, but the fan itself, if you look here right quick, the fan itself is turned off. It's not moving at all. So I'm guessing at about 60 degrees Celsius is when it kicks on, which is totally fine with me. I don't mind the whole low power thing on GPUs these days. They're actually pretty cool, especially for people who are power conscious about their cautious. Is it conscious or cautious? It's cautious, right? Yeah. Power cautious? Whatever. Comment down below. Let me know how to properly say that. I'm only learning, people. I'm just human. Anyway. But yes. For those of you who prefer low power systems, it's an awesome idea that they've been doing the graphics card lately. So definitely kudos for that one. So yeah, let's bring up Valley Benchmark here. Already had it open. So right now it's running on stock clock. There's no extra power added to the no extra voltage. Voltage is actually turned off. There's no extra power limit. Clock is set to its normal clock, its base clock, which is 1060. Memory clock is set to 1500. The fan profile is set to auto, which is whatever the BIOS on the GPU is putting it out. And the current temperature on the card at idle is 111. Keep in mind this is, I think that was my clock. Keep in mind this is an AMD card, so they do tend to run hot even on idle. So let's get this show on the road. Actually, it loads pretty quickly. Who would have thought? Now, if you don't hear any audio, it's for an obvious reason. I wanted to ensure that the camera could pick up the sound of the graphics card if and when it ever makes noise. So I'm just gonna run the benchmark here, and I will be back as soon as the benchmark has finished. Right, well, we are on 16 out of 18. That is the scene number for this benchmark. It's coming up to an end here in just a couple of seconds. So we'll see what kind of score it puts out on stock, that stock clock. Now, the system itself, for the most part, has maintained a very silent operation. My tower itself is actually a little louder right now with its 3 radiators. Now its score, its frame per second was 28.8. Its score is 1205 with a minimum frame of 15.2 and a maximum of 49.2. See if we can get you to see that. Oh, let me not do that. I'm not trying to break anything here. There you go. It's some pretty good values considering it's a 1000 megahertz, 2 gigabytes. So now we're gonna do some overclocking. Now I've already created a profile for overclocking, so you don't have to sit here and watch me do some work on it or anything. So let's get that up and running here. Alright, so here we have MSI Afterburner again. and we got this profile set right here. Now this profile increases the power limit by 10%. It increases the clock speed by 110 megahertz. So it goes from 1060. I'm sorry, it increases it by 210 megahertz. So it goes from 1060 to 1280. The memory clock is staying the same, and I'm actually going to change this to the fan speed profile that I created. So right now the fan is actually running at 55%, and it's actually still as quiet as it was even when the fan was turned off. So that's actually a good thing. So I'm going to hit apply, and I'm going to run the benchmark again. We're going to see what we get here. Alright, so let's start it. Now currently the fan is running at 60%. We're at 98 load, and it's at 138 degrees Fahrenheit. Alright, so we're in scene 14 out of 18. And if you haven't noticed already, the fan itself is actually quite audible. I don't know if the microphone is picking that up, but you can definitely hear it. It's not loud, it's not ridiculously loud, it's not something that it'll annoy you, especially if it's inside of a case, but it's audible enough that you can definitely hear that it's moving. Alright, so here we go. This is the last scene. Let's see how it did with overclock. There you have it. 32.5 frames per second, score of 1359, minimum frames per second 15.8, maximum 56.2. So it's getting to the 60 frames per second. And again, I'm gonna bring the camera up so you can see this, just so you don't think I'm saying some stuff. Almost forgot to unplug it. Could have just killed it. There you have it. Those are the scores. So if you're running a game, let's say you're the kind of person who likes to run a game on medium because you really don't care about the gameplay itself. You just want to get certain things over with. You know, you just want to get straight to the action. Chances are you will hit 60 frames per second in a game like that. In a situation where you're just running the game in medium. If you're doing max settings, I can probably guarantee that you'll get 30 frames a second, but anything beyond that, it's basically dependent on exactly how it is that you're running the GPU. Overclock, though, it'll definitely give you a good performance boost in terms of games and other GPU dependent programs. So we're just gonna check some temperatures here right quick. I'm not gonna use this guy, I have something for it if and when it decides to open. Right, so here we have, I should put this on dark. Yay, there we go, it's much more legible. Right, so I'm going to go to advanced. This is CAM software, by the way. I want to check out the last hour. At 100% load, we hit a maximum, it looks like, of 151 degrees Fahrenheit. 154. That's what it looks like it's putting out. 154 degrees at a maximum load while running a Unigen, the Valley benchmark. It's actually not that bad. So the temperature itself compared to idle really didn't go up too much. I mean, its idle is usually around 111, 106. and to jump up to 154, that's actually not too bad, considering that most GPUs out there will idle at about 80 degrees, and well, they'll jump up to 160 in a split second. So this is actually pretty good, and the CPU temperature on the first time running this benchmark is actually pretty good, considering that the idle temperatures again are somewhat high. But that's enough of that. So there you have it, performance testing and overclocking the Sapphire Nittro R7 360, 2 GB. Does a fairly decent job. Totally recommend it if you're a 1080p user, and let's say you're playing MOBA games or RTSs and things like that. Totally recommend it for that. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. If you like this video, please give me a like. If you dislike it, well, just hit the dislike button. Leave some comments below. Let me know what you think. Let me know what I can do better, what I can change, what I can improve on. I do plan on doing a video on this guy right here, which I recently got. This is my Blue Yeti blackout microphone, which I recently got in order to get some better quality audio. So let me know if you'd like to see a video, if you'd definitely like to see a video on this down in the comments. And hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe, share, I mean, whatever it is that makes you happy, I'm down. And I will see you guys on the next one.